Coming up this morning, we're going to hear from two candidates for Senate in South Carolina. We're also going to hear from a girl who's won an award that's going to take her to Washington, D.C. She's a middle school student from Forest Brook Middle, and wait till you hear what she won the award for. Carolina This Week starts right now.
This is Carolina This Week. Carolina This Week with Tim McGinnis.
Good morning. It is campaign season once again. Several Republicans have lined up to try to take the spot of Lindsey Graham in the U.S. Senate. We're going to hear from Bill Connor this morning, who's one of them. We're also going to hear from Democrat Jay Stamper, who's in that race. And a little bit later, we're going to hear from a Forest Brook Middle School student who won an award from Prudential Insurance that's going to take her to Washington, D.C. She won it by doing work with horses. We'll explain that a little bit later. But first, let's talk about the Senate, and let's meet Bill Connor, who's one of 5 or 6 Republicans running in the primary to take Lindsey Graham's seat.
Yes, Tim. First of all, thank you for being here. Just got through with the debate from one of the challengers. So it's great to be back in Horry County, Myrtle Beach. Thanks.
First off, for people who don't know who you are, where are you from, Bill, and why are you running?
Sure. First of all, I'm Bill Connor. I've got a wife and 3 kids. I currently live in Orangeburg, South Carolina, but you can probably tell from my accent that I was a military brat growing up. Okay. So when you ask where I'm from, born in Hawaii, lived in a number of places with a father as a career Army officer. Went to the Citadel, though, and always called South Carolina home. Had a long-term active duty military career. Went to various places throughout my career, Afghanistan and Kuwait, and in fact, we talked about being at Fort Stewart for a time. But I tell you what got me involved in politics, because I was rather late in life. I was 41 when I first really took my plunge and got involved in meetings, and that was running for lieutenant governor. And that was after I'd gotten back from Afghanistan, where I'd seen such incredible sacrifice for our Constitution, for our nation. And this was the summer of 2008 when I got back, seeing what was happening in our nation at that time. It was the time of the TAR bailouts and eventually the election of Barack Obama and the stimulus package, and just realizing that our Constitution was really being shattered in many ways, and the nation that I grew up in, defended and promised to support and defend under the Constitution was really under attack. And so I decided to jump in. I ran for lieutenant governor. In fact, I came down to Horry County a number of times. Made the runoff with Ken Ard, beaten out a number of opponents, but lost to Ken Ard in the runoff. And then later on, watching the current senator, watching a number of issues that are near and dear to my heart, things like immigration, things like him voting for Justice Sotomayor and Justice Kagan, big government ideas, and then finally him flying to Cairo, and I believe taking the side of the Muslim Brotherhood over the military, which was a terrible decision. I decided through a lot of thought and prayer to get involved. And motivated, the campaign started Veterans Day in November, and a lot of passion. We're on the air statewide. People may have seen my commercials, and we plan to run a good, hard campaign.
Let's talk about some of the issues, some of the bigger issues that are facing the nation right now. Yes. You mentioned what's happening in the Middle East, but let's talk about what's happening here domestically. And I know one of the problems that a lot of his critics have with him is immigration.
Yes.
Where do you stand on immigration?
Sure. I carry around a Constitution with me at all times. And Article 1, Section 8 lays out the enumerated powers of what Congress is supposed to do. One of those powers and duties is to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. I'm pretty hard-nosed on this, but they establish the rules. Those rules are to be carried out. I know we keep being told the problem is too big. It's got to be, there's just no way to get beyond some kind of immigration reform. And frankly, I just disagree in this one. We don't change the laws that are on the books. The one thing we do have to look at, and Congress, I believe, has a power to, is the 14th Amendment and who we hold as citizens. I believe there's an argument that Congress can go back, and the idea of anchor babies, where someone comes in, has a baby in the United States, and we automatically consider that person a citizen and bring citizenship to all the family, I just don't believe is right. I believe Congress has the power in this case to declare that's not right and, again, enforce the laws. The first thing, though, is to secure the border as best we can. Now, you'll never completely cut off everything, but you can use assets we have right now to do a much better job of cutting illegal immigration down to a small trickle. The other problem is 40% of the illegal immigration comes through overstayed visas. That needs to be something that's controlled. You know, we have laws in the books that allow people to come here for work. H-1B visas allow 3 years of being here. It can be extended 3 more years, and you can get a work green card while you're here to stay almost indefinitely. These are people playing by the rules. Those who have broken the laws to come in the nation, we need to enforce the laws. Doesn't mean we just send out people throughout the nation to collect folks up that have been here, but we need to tighten down on making life such that you don't receive entitlements, you don't receive driver's license. There's a lot of things you shouldn't receive if you're not a citizen. Here's the bottom line is, if we want our nation to continue on, we've got to get control, and part of that is to enforce the laws in the books.
Let's talk about the Affordable Care Act.
Sure, sure.
I'm going to assume that you're not for the Affordable Care Act.
I don't know how you assume that. You know, my wife is an OBGYN, and of course, we've been married 23 years, so I've been through the entire gamut with her. So healthcare is near and dear to my heart. The first thing I'd say is that the government control of healthcare, as has been done by Obamacare, is unconstitutional. There's just no way around it. And even this Supreme Court said that under the Interstate Commerce Clause, the individual mandate was unconstitutional. They allowed it as a tax, but remember, the Obama administration said it was not a tax. So if they say it wasn't a tax, it had to be argued under the Interstate Commerce Clause. So I was with Ted Cruz in saying, look, we should not fund it because it's not constitutional. I see the problem in healthcare is the overstepping of government into healthcare to start with. If you go back to the 1960s, when government took over things like Medicaid and only reimbursed at 20% the rate, that drove prices up. The Impala laws in the 1980s requiring all hospitals to take everyone into emergency rooms, even if they couldn't pay. Even when we had charitable hospitals to take care of people, that caused costs to go up. They eventually drove us to where in the 1950s you could just about pay out of pocket to handle most things, to now where you go to the emergency room with a hangnail and you're paying $12,000. It's all from government intervention, government regulation, and we made things worth Obamacare. I want to replace it. I want to replace it with the system that's a free market solution, cross-border competition for insurance companies across state lines, getting back to allowing it to be a true free market type thing that the government doesn't stick its fingers into.
Let's get to the race now.
Sure.
Again, a lot of Republicans really going after Senator Lindsey Graham, who's sitting senator, a powerful senator, who, according to polls, is going to win the race, but not win it by a large enough margin to avoid a runoff.
Yes.
Why take the risk of having him out of office?
Well, I'd say if you look at the entire 6 years, what you're going to see is 4 years plus of him running as a liberal. I'll just be straight up. A liberal within the Republican Party. Again, voting for Justice Sotomayor, Justice Kagan, the amnesty proposals from 2007, 2008, the internet sales tax. I mean, I can go through a litany of things. We are now seeing a conservative Senator Graham before election time, but I'm sorry, you can't erase all the other years. And also, can we really trust that if he gets through this and he has 6 more years to go and the possibility of appointment somewhere else, that he's not going to swing way to the left? And can we afford that? I'll give you an example. He voted for Justice Sotomayor, Justice Kagan, 2 justices that were way to the left of what I believe is a constitutional conservative, and Obamacare was upheld by 1 vote. DOMA was struck down by 1 vote. These confirmation processes matter greatly. And he says elections have consequences. Well, his decision in this case, I believe, should be one where he goes back home. One thing I promise to the voters is 2 terms. We need to change who we send up. I've never served in political office. I believe we need citizen legislators, but I give my word of honor, 2 terms, and that's it. I'm going back home. 20 years of Senator Graham up in D.C., Congress, all congressional duty is too long. 3.5 decades for John McCain is probably too long. And I think, quite frankly, too much time up there causes them to be something we don't need for South Carolina.
We've used a lot of time, but you've already done it pretty much in that last statement. But if you could, in 15 seconds, why should I vote for you?
Sure, because what you're going to get is a constitutional conservative. I carry this book around. I raised my right hand to support and defend it 24 years ago. I've done it in the battlefield. I've done it in peacetime. I will do it up there. I will not get beyond the Constitution. I will stick to my word. I'll only be there for 12 years. If you vote for me, you can trust me. Thank you.
Bill Connor, thanks for being with me this morning.
Tim.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.